Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your comments, Councillor Cameron. Certainly comments or thoughts that I echo in terms of perhaps some of the emotions that were running high on this topic. I want to certainly acknowledge that I took the weekend off to think about everything that's been said, all the pressure that's been seemingly or put on me from comments that I've heard. And I fully realize that regardless of how this turns out tonight, there will be people who will be unhappy with me and other people will be happy with me. But I wanted to acknowledge that the decisions we make are difficult. And however this turns out is not a reflection of any disrespect for any of my colleagues or any of the public. You know, I hold you folks in high esteem. The things we do are hard. And so I certainly want to acknowledge the circumstances we find ourselves in, and wanted to also say that, you know, I hope that it's not taken personally, because at the end of the day, the decision that one makes, one has to be comfortable and do it for themselves, not for because somebody else wanted them to vote a certain way.
So I would just like to speak to this matter. I want to echo what Councillor Cameron said, that we're talking about real people that are affected by our decisions. We've heard on this matter from a family that's trying to do the right thing, that is trying to do what is consistent with all our policies, that we, especially obviously the councillors that were around before the election, passed last June, the OCP, and all of the protections and incentives for heritage. These people's lives are changed by our decisions, like many of our decisions, but this one in particular, because it's a resident. It is not a developer. It is a resident that they're not in the profession of trying to develop properties. They're reading our policy, and they are trying to accommodate their family to age in place. And I have been at this longer, granted, than a few of the councillors here, but I have talked to many people in this similar situation that are just trying to keep their family together. I've had people sell their houses because they couldn't afford to keep their kids close by, to have a house, wanted a coach house. I had another family in Horseshoe Bay that ended up selling because they couldn't stay in our community. They're trying to make it work, and council of the day approved a bylaw, approved an official community plan that we all stood up proudly and said, we're going to try to make your life easier. And I feel a great obligation to those people. Yes, I feel an obligation to residents, I guess, but when I really have some difficulty when I hear from residents who say, oh, I love that heritage house on the corner. I just love it. It's so beautiful, and we just want it to stay exactly the same. We don't own it, but we love having it there. But we don't want to add one more house of 1,500 square feet because there might be issues around parking. I get that if you're not developing the property, there's nothing in it for you. I get that. I totally get that. And I guess, I like to think that we think a little more altruistically than always about ourselves. I live within 2 blocks of both the Vincent House and the Rush House. And I have no problem with those properties being developed. They're on my street. In fact, the Vincent House is on on Gordon. And I supported that one because I voted for it, but I also supported it as a resident. I heard from some neighbors who didn't want it. but it looks lovely. And the Rush House is just up 12th from me. So I'm close to both of these developments. But this is going to have implications, Councillor Wong. You voted to support this, and if you change your mind on this vote, you are disappointing a family. Yes, you are disappointing residents, but I would ask you to think pretty seriously before you. No, I am the chair, and I can speak to Councillor Wong. There's nothing improper.
Order! 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 Order!
So, anyway, I'm directing this because I can see where Councillor Wong's going, and I'm allowed to do that. I am the chair, and if anyone speaks up, I will ask you to leave.
Order! Order! Order!
And I am serious about that. So, I've said my piece, and I will call the question, Councillor Lambert. All in favor? Opposed? And it is defeated. Exactly what I said.
Oh, I don't think anybody.
Carolyn,
I don't think anybody.
In fairness, I repeat the point that the person who has the floor must be heard.
Be upset if you were saying to consider it seriously, so that was not the point.
Yes.
So thank you for looking into it.
Yes, I will.